Albert Anastasia was born in Calabria, Italy on September 26, 1902 and was naturalized in 1943 while in the U.S. Army. Anastasia was the leading figure controlling the rackets, strike-breaking, and strong-arm activities on the New York City waterfront. He was also a leading figure in activities of the group Murder Incorporated in Brooklyn, New York. Albert, the oldest and most sinister of the Anastasia brothers, got involved as far as 1921 with the criminal element, as he was among several men convicted of killing a fellow countryman in a quarrel. After months in the death row at Sing Sing prison, Anastasia won a retrial on a technical plea. Meanwhile, the state's best witness in this case was frightened back to Italy. On the retrial, Albert was acquitted. He was arrested for assault in 1923, but won a discharge by the same technique of intimidating witnesses. The same year, he was convicted of possessing a gun. He served 2 years in prison. In 1928, the subject was charged with another murder and in 1932 with stabbing a man to death with an ice pick, but was dismissed for lack of evidence both times. In 1933, he was tried for the killing of a Brooklyn laundryman, but the state's witnesses somehow changed their story, and he got off again. By this time, the Anastasia was rising to power. On a Brooklyn waterfront, he became a peer superintendent and nominated 6 locals of the International Longshoremen's Association. In addition, Albert had become a friend, as he admitted in 1951 to the Kefauver Committee, of Joe Adonis, Willie Raretti, Vito Genovese, and Augie Expisano. With Adonis and Abe Reles, Albert formed Murder Inc., the famous racket syndicate that murdered 63 men in the New York area between 1931 and 1940s. Reles later testified that Albert was the fingerman and ordered all of the killings. In 1939, Peter Panto, the longshoreman who organized a rank-and-file revolt to rid the Union of Racketeers, was strangled, and his body was buried in a lime pit. Reles, accused of several other murders, told all to save his life. He implicated Anastasia in this and 30 more murders. Then Reles plunged to his death from his room in the Half Moon Hotel in Coney Island in 1943, and William O'Dwyer, then Brooklyn District Attorney, said his perfect case against Anastasia had collapsed. Taking refuge in the Army in 1942, the subject hit out as technical sergeant training Army longshoreman at Indiantown, Pennsylvania for the next 2 years before he was discharged as overage in 1944. He took advantage of a law granting quick citizenship to servicemen after he quit the waterfront and the rough stuff. He began operating a dress factory in Hazleton, Pennsylvania. The subject bought a $75,000 yellow stucco house overlooking the Hudson at Fort Lee, New Jersey, around the corner from the home of his old friend Adonis. In the book titled Murder, Inc. by Sid Fighter concerning Anastasia, the following is reflected. Albert Anastasia has been getting away with murder for 30 years now, and a lot of people have been helping him. Since 1920s, 3 years after he jumped ship and smuggled his way into the United States, Anastasia has been close to some 30 assassinations with gun, ice pick, and strangling rope, either in person or by direction. According to police reports in connection with the kidnapping of Isidore Juff in 1932, for which Joe Adonis was indicted, Anastasia was recognized by Juff as being among his assailants in this kidnapping. Anastasia was never indicted or convicted for this crime. The New York City Police Department has linked Anastasia to 20 different killings. Albert Anastasia's only jail penalty was for carrying a gun in 1923. For 5 murders, he was arrested. For 2, he was tried in a court of law. For 1, he even went to death row. For the remainder, he was discharged. His activity in Murder Inc. left bodies all over America, and after the formation or the syndicate underworld law decreed they could not murder without his approval. Albert Anastasia was later gunned down and killed on October 25, 1957 in Park Central Hotel while getting a shave.